Are we seriously having this conversation again? Because what we just witnessed was far bigger than a simple loss on a basketball court. Every person listening right now needs to understand exactly how bad this looked. Losing games is part of sports. It happens to every team. Sometimes your shots refuse to fall. Sometimes the basketball gods are not on your side. Sometimes the other team catches fire and there is nothing you can do about it. Fans can live with that. What fans cannot tolerate is watching a team completely fall apart and then refuse to accept responsibility afterward. What unfolded during the Indiana Fever post-game press conference was one of the most frustrating displays of blame shifting and denial we have seen all season. Stephanie White and Aliyah Boston sat in front of the media after a devastating loss, and instead of owning what happened, they pointed fingers everywhere else. For fans who spend their hard-earned money supporting this team, it felt like a complete slap in the face. This Fever roster has too much talent for performances like this. You have Caitlin Clark, a generational superstar whose impact extends far beyond the court and whose presence drives massive attention and revenue throughout the league. Yet this talented group was thoroughly outplayed, outworked, and outcoached by the Golden State Valkyries. And rather than facing that reality head-on, the coach and one of the team's biggest stars chose excuses over accountability. So let's start with the very beginning of this disastrous press conference. Indiana had just dropped a painful game that came down to the final possessions. The offense looked completely disorganized when it mattered most. There was confusion, hesitation, and panic at exactly the wrong time. Naturally, a reporter asked Stephanie White a simple question about those final shots. An honest coach would have looked at the situation and admitted the obvious. She could have said, "We didn't execute. We lost our composure. I need to put my players in a better position to succeed." Instead, Stephanie White gave an answer that left everyone scratching their heads.
What did you like about those final two shots, both the ones before the jump ball and then the one to try and tie it?
I thought they were both good looks. They're a really good defensive team, and when you get an opportunity to get some clean looks, it's important. I thought we got some good looks.
And then came the answer that left fans absolutely stunned. Stephanie White looked at that sequence and actually said she liked the shots they got. Seriously? What game was she watching? Let's go back and examine exactly what happened on that possession. Caitlin Clark was being swarmed by defenders, trapped aggressively, and forced to make a difficult play under intense pressure. Despite all of that, she somehow managed to squeeze a pass inside to Aliyah Boston. This is supposed to be your franchise center. This is one of the foundational pieces of the organization. This is the player the Fever invested heavily in and expect to deliver in big moments. But what happened next was anything but encouraging. Boston caught the basketball in a prime position, and instead of making a strong move to the basket, she looked completely overwhelmed by the moment. Rather than attacking decisively, she hesitated, spun around aimlessly, and appeared unsure of what to do. The possession quickly turned into chaos. The shot that followed looked rushed, awkward, and completely out of rhythm. There was no confidence, no control, and no real offensive structure behind it. It was the kind of possession that coaches usually point to as an example of what went wrong. Yet somehow Stephanie White sat at the podium afterward and described it as a good look. That is exactly what frustrated so many people watching. It felt disconnected from reality. It felt like a refusal to acknowledge what everyone else had just seen unfold on the court. And if that answer sounded bad, what happened next took things to an entirely different level. A reporter followed up with a straightforward basketball question, asking Stephanie White whether she expected number 4 from the Valkyries to play such a significant role during the second half. What happened after that question raised even more concerns about just how prepared this coaching staff really was heading into the game.
Question for Coach. Did you expect number 4 for the Valkyries to play as much as she did in that second half? You think it's good?
Yeah.
Look, she didn't know you didn't. No, you didn't. Aliyah Boston had the point on the paper to show who she was talking about. She don't even know who number 4 is. Stephanie White wasn't prepared for her.
Now let's talk about the moment that had fans doing a double take. The reporter's question was not complicated. It was a basic basketball question about a Valkyries player who had made a major impact in the second half. Yet the reaction from Stephanie White immediately raised eyebrows. The truth is, she looked completely caught off guard. In fact, It appeared as though she didn't even know which player the reporter was referring to. You could see the confusion. You could see the hesitation. And then came the moment that made everything even worse. Aliyah Boston had to help point things out on the stat sheet just so her own head coach could identify the player in question. Think about that for a second. This wasn't some random player buried at the end of the bench. This was a contributor who played meaningful minutes and helped influence the outcome of the game. Yet the head coach looked unprepared.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even able to get into a flow. I mean, I played the second half. I think it's super hard to try and figure out and understand how the refs are calling it. I think it's super hard to get charge fouls when I don't think anyone's in legal position. I mean, shout out to the Valks. I mean, they did a great job selling it, and the refs bought it, to be honest, so good for them.
And this is where the conversation really starts to get frustrating. Listen closely to what Aliyah Boston was saying after the game. Instead of focusing on her own decisions, the discussion quickly shifted toward the officiating. The explanation centered around not understanding how the game was being called, questioning whether defenders were in legal position, and suggesting that the Valkyries did a great job selling contact. But here's the problem. This isn't an isolated incident. We've seen this pattern before. It doesn't matter which arena the Fever are playing in, which opponent is standing across from them, or which referees are working the game. The same issues continue to show up. Boston repeatedly finds herself battling foul trouble, and at some point the conversation has to move beyond blaming whistles and start addressing the basketball itself. Too often she waits for defenses to get set before making her move. Too often she attacks into crowded lanes and creates difficult situations for herself. Then, when the whistle comes, the reaction is surprise rather than adjustment. That's what has so many fans concerned. Accountability seems to be missing from the discussion. Instead of talking about footwork, positioning, timing, or decision-making, the focus shifts toward what everyone else supposedly did wrong. And when that mindset starts showing up consistently, people naturally begin asking where it comes from. Players usually reflect the culture established by leadership. They learn habits from the environment around them. They learn how to respond to adversity from the people guiding them every day. Which brings us right back to Stephanie White. On this particular night, the coaching contrast between the two sidelines was impossible to ignore. Natalie Nakase and the Golden State Valkyries appeared prepared, organized.
When are you going to talk about your coaching? When are you going to talk about you not having your team ready in practice? When are you going to talk about anything that you did wrong? Natalie Nakase coached circles around you, Stephanie White. When are you going to address it? Your team looked ill-prepared. We look unprepared damn near every game. This was ridiculous.
And then came the moment that sent fans over the edge. A reporter asked what should have been one of the easiest questions of the night. The topic was Caitlin Clark and whether defenses are guarding her differently this season compared to last year. For any head coach, this is basic territory. This is the kind of question that should produce an immediate answer. After all, Clark is the centerpiece of the franchise. Everything the Fever do offensively revolves around her ability to create opportunities. Yet Stephanie White's response left people absolutely stunned. Her answer was simple, "I don't know." Think about that for a second. The head coach of the Indiana Fever was asked about the defensive schemes being used against the most important player on her roster, and her response was that she didn't know. That's the answer that sparked outrage across the fan base. Because if the coaching staff doesn't fully understand how opponents are attacking Caitlin Clark, how can they possibly create solutions to help her succeed? How can they put her in advantageous situations? How can they counter the traps, blitzes, and aggressive defensive pressure she faces every single night? Those are questions fans immediately started asking. Throughout the game, Clark was forced to battle constant defensive attention. She was picked up far from the basket. She was trapped in ball screens. She was pressured whenever she touched the ball. Defenses clearly entered the game with a detailed plan to make her life difficult. Yet the Fever never seemed to provide consistent counters. There were very few adjustments designed to relieve pressure or create easier opportunities. Instead, Clark often looked like she was trying to solve the entire puzzle by herself. That's what made White's response so frustrating to many observers. It seemed to confirm what they had been watching on the court. If the coaching staff doesn't have clear answers, the offense inevitably becomes more difficult to execute. And it wasn't just on the offensive side. Defensively, the Fever struggled to slow down key Valkyries players as well. Veronica Burton repeatedly found opportunities to attack, and when Indiana finally